All right, it is Sunday. It's just almost a half hour into Sunday, and I wanted to do a video for Sunday. I'm trying to do one every Sunday now, and so hopefully I'll gain an audience. Um, and I started a series last week on tracing. As an artist, tracing is a tool that we use at times to do our artwork, or it's great, a learning tool too when you're a beginning artist. You can trace, and but it has good uses and bad uses, and so I'm trying to flesh all that sort of stuff out for people. And this past week a thing happened, and I wanted to kind of go through this story with you because it involves some tracing, and I thought it might be helpful for you in regard to learning about how artists do this and all that. So I have a story for you. I'm going to show you lots of layers and files and that sort of thing. So I hope you stick with me. It should be a good story. And it is 12:30. I have a very busy life, and so I wanted to get this in. So hopefully my brain will be somewhat attached before I go to bed, and then wake up and have a busy day tomorrow. So that's why I have to do it now. So so anyway, here we go. And this story begins just a couple days ago. And there we go. It starts with this photograph right here. I was taking a little break, and I was kind of scrolling around on Facebook, and there's a family that I met at the Krish Museum. They're good friends with a former coworker of mine there, and the wife had posted this photo. There's a homeschool group where they are, and so her children or child is in this photo, and it's a mock court trial type of thing, a learning experience for this homeschool group, which is completely cool. Look what access that they got to a real courtroom. Anyway, so she posted this photo, and just as a kick, I'll do this every so often. I'll pull a photo off and alter it a little bit and then post it. And the touch up is the humor, and so I want to make people smile and laugh, and so I thought, well, I'll take a few moments here. And my thing was, I thought it would be funnier if this photo looked more like a courtroom sketch, how you see those on TV sometimes. And so all I did was I took the photo, and then I didn't want to take much time on this at all, so I ran a couple filters on it, because you see people do that every so often. And as an artist, some of these filters, they look kind of cool, but um, it's a filter. It's not really artwork. And so, you know, it I'm conflicted because some of them are kind of cool looking, but at the same time, in a way, it devalues the work that artists do, because everyone thinks, well, you just push a button and then you got it. Why should I have someone draw this for me when I can just, there it happened. So anyway, so I was taking advantage of some of these filters that we have on in Photoshop, and this one is very messy, right? Look at the all the little detail lines and stuff, and it doesn't look like artwork. It looks like a filter. And so I had done that one, and then I did this one, which is one of my favorite filters. I've used that for other pieces of artwork as a component of the artwork. And so I thought, well, if I mix those two filters together somehow, what I wanted to do with this first filter here is not to use most of that. I wanted to get the black line out of it. And so I actually extracted the black line out of this one, and so I wanted to leave the color behind and use the color on this one. So then I did that, and that's the two mixed together, and I actually cleaned that up a bit. There's still some of those little gunky pieces, those little crumbs of whatever around, and I didn't like it very much. And so then I thought, well, I'll draw over the top of it to help push it forward and make it better. So that's what I did, and I think that was the end result right there, or pretty close to it. Let me see. Yeah, that's it right there. That's the end result. And so I made a JPEG of that and posted it on Facebook. It just took a few, maybe 10, 15 minutes or something like that. off it went. And I got this reply back, and the mom thought it was really cool, and they got a big kick out of it. And so I thought, well, mission accomplished. I'm help bring someone a smile. And I got this request back after a little while, and I guess she had showed it off to some of her friends and stuff, and they thought, wow, it'd be really cool if you could do something like that of the whole group, and they could put it in their yearbook, or I don't know what the project is, but they've got some sort of a publication that they're going to print, and she wanted me to do that for them. And I thought, oh, I don't have much time. I got projects. I'm drowning. And so I thought, all right, well, I guess I can fit something like that in real quick. And then she sent the photo to me, and there it is. And I thought, oh my, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 faces in this thing. Lots of detail. And I thought, how am I ever going to turn something like this into a courtroom sketch in a short amount of time? And so I had a particular look. I looked up some reference for courtroom sketches, and I thought, well, all right, I've got my game plan, and I'm just going to make this happen very quick. And so so the first thing that I did was I put a transparent white layer over the top of the photograph, and then I started inking. And so this is how that goes. I'm just going to do a little sample inking here. We're going to zoom in on this guy right here because he's got funny hair and a great smile. And like I said, I love the hair. So let's see, I got to get my brush out here. And I'm just going to do a little bit of tracing. Now, the thing is with tracing, if I had a room full of people do this particular one face, I think that the image would look different every time, because everyone has a different take on which line. See, there's really no lines here. It's a photograph, and there's different tones and shapes and shadows and stuff. And so you have to pick which line are you going to use. And for me, I know that I am right now, even though I'm looking at a photograph and I'm drawing from this photograph, I'm using knowledge of years of drawing skill and experience. And if I were to do this and really take my time on it, I would probably even draw some like pencil lines or some lighter. I'm just going right to inks on this thing. And so I've got to decide what that final line is right from the get-go. And so I'm interpreting as I'm going. I'm not just, drawing brainless lines. This is effort, and this is artwork. Because I want this to look good all by itself. And I've spent years drawing faces, and so I've got a look that I've developed over the years, especially drawing caricatures. That's been very helpful for me. And so again, you decide which lines you're going to draw, and your style comes into it. So every person that would do this would make it look a little bit different. And like I said, I'm trying to go really fast, and there are 15 faces that I have to draw. So again, it's not like pushing a button, bam, it happens, off you go. There was no effort involved. There's effort here, even though I'm an artist and I've done a lot of this sort of stuff. My experience makes this more comfortable. So it's it's not like a, an inexperienced person would probably look at it and go, oh, and then they would just be drawing lines and they're not really knowing what they're doing and hoping that they're getting it right, sort of thing. But so I hope I'm helping you understand that even though I'm tracing this, it makes a difference if you're an educated or practiced artist doing this versus just, Joe Blow off the street. Here's a pen, trace this. You would get two vastly different results. So, so anyway, and I'm not even really warmed up right now. So I was feeling pretty good when I was doing this, and thought I had a rhythm going, and you get your thick and thins and how you're rendering shapes and all that sort of thing. So that's what I was doing. I did that for all of that. So it was a good couple hours of just inking. I went through, I started with some faces and then I moved down and I'm like doing different sections just to kind of break it up, because I'm really particular about faces. They got to look like they're supposed to look. And some of the detail on here wasn't, as good as I'd like. Some of the eyes were kind of squinty and shadowy, and you kind of have to figure out what's going on in there. And so there's all kinds of reading into the image and hoping you're making it look more like it should, given the information that you have. So I'm, interpreting some of the shadowy areas. And anyway, so long story short, here's what the inks turned out to look like. All right. So I'll just zoom in on some of that. And so look at some of the shading and the rendering and the hair, and it can be fun. It's sort of relaxing, but like I said, I wasn't trying to relax too much. I was trying to get this expedited, but make it look good at the same time. I want a pleasing result. So someone asked me a favor, and so I'm trying to make this go zoom, zoom, zoom. So anyway, there's lots to that, and that took me a good couple hours at least. And then after I finished with the inks, well, almost finished with the inks, I touched it up a little bit afterwards. Then I went to, I'll shut that off, that layer. Let's see, shut that layer off, and then I did run a filter on this, and so I took a, so turn that off too, and then I ran. So you got my filter. Yeah, that's the filter. So if you zoom in, you can see that the gradations in the photograph. She's a good example right here. The gradations in the photograph have been flattened out, and the colors have been broken down into different certain limited colors, and so you get flat areas of shapes instead of nice smooth gradations. So that's something that I wanted that would help me color this very quickly. But again, that doesn't look like a courtroom drawing. And that was the end goal. That was the end point of this, was to make this courtroom scene look like a courtroom artist that sketched it. So what I did from there was that I'll get these layers numbered here. I started painting over the top of that. And so I, again, wanted that very hard edge type of thing to be softened, and I wanted more of a painted look. So I took a brush in Photoshop, and I found one that looks like a chalk, like a pastel type of thing. And so I started going over the the suits and stuff. And I think I had my inks when I was on doing this. So all the dark areas on the suits, I started like chalk drawing on all of those, and I was figuring out where the shadows would be and how to separate some of the figures, because you've got dark next to dark here, and I want her to separate out from him in the back. So I'm drawing on the shadows behind them and between them, and then I'm leaving some light on her to help her separate. If I made that all solid, they would just blend right together, and I didn't want that. So, and I'm trying to use this nice squiggle line here that gives an impression of an artist did this. This isn't a filter, and that I love those lines. Those lines are really cool, and I love the feel of that. And so I just made my journey all the way around the artwork, or the image, and I'm trying to make everybody look more like they're drawn and painted. And so that was the first round of paints. And then what I did after that was I noticed in my reference for my chalk art, my courtroom art, I noticed that usually artwork like that, they'll start with like a mid-tone. Even the paper that they're on sometimes sort of a brown, light tan type of thing. So that's like a middle. And then they'll work on the darks, which is darker than that. And then they'll work on the lights, which is lighter than that. And you get this really nice looking artwork. And so I thought, all right, well, I'll put some highlights in and start, see how that pops out all of a sudden. So I thought I'd start working on the highlights, and I just love how highlights make, and highlights are fun to draw too. And even the glass, see the judge in the back there? I didn't put a line in for they have these plastic panels up, I think for COVID type stuff. And so I drew that line there. I thought that was kind of magical. That simple line right there. I love it. And so so I put the highlights in again, and that takes a little while figuring out where the lighting is. And sometimes I'm exaggerating. I'm drawing into something that not necessarily those highlights would be in that lighting situation, but I'm creating a new lighting situation. And then I put in some more darker darks after that to make, again, the figures pop out more and to separate from each other. And let's see, so we're up to number 5. And then I had to work on the background a little bit and see how in the back there's these jaggy computer looking type things. And so I didn't want that to be there either. And so I took and started painting some brush strokes over the shadows on the floor and some of the detail in the background. And I wanted to, again, make it look like it's all art. See how it's starting to transform now from that computerized looking thing with the hard edges on it. Now it's starting to look more like it's drawn, because most of it is. And then after that, I started working on the edges of the paper, and I wanted to make this look like it was drawn on this paper that was originally brown. See in the corners, that would be like what the paper was like before all this was added to it. And then all the rest of it was put onto the brown paper. So I wanted that to be what it would look like. And then let's see, we're up to number 7, number 8. And then I went back in and I started touching up the inks some more, because I felt like I could use some thicker lines to separate the figures even more. And so then I added those. So I'm going to turn those on and off just a little bit to see the difference. See how they're more together, but I wanted them to pop out separate more. So I put those lines there, and that helped separate things even more. So I hope you can see the difference between just pushing a button and letting a computer just go, versus actual artist brain experience and all that sort of stuff into this product, which it started heading into a really good direction. So I think this took about 3.5 hours, and the end result was pretty rewarding for me anyway. And then the last part is I put my name on it right down to my initials down in the corner. So that was it. And so does it look like a courtroom sketch to you? That, again, that was the end result. And I wasn't trying to make anyone think that, I'm just drawing this from scratch, or I got the photograph right next to me and I hand drew looking at the reference and then sketched everything. That would take, you know how long that would take if I could do that. I've done that many times in the past before, where you start penciling out something, and once you get all the pencils done, then and you're looking at your reference that's off to the side, and then you start inking over that, and then that would take me a week. Just with all these faces and trying to get the likenesses just right, that alone would be enough. But again, I'm like trying to crank this through and get this done and then off to the other load of stuff that I have on my list. Um, so that was the end result. And then I sent it off to my friend, and she loved it, and she posted it. And then people were starting to ask questions about it. And again, I don't want people thinking one thing when I didn't do that. And I didn't want to come across like, I was looking for some kind of, wow, look how great you are and how fast and, all that. I wanted people to know exactly what this is. And so again, my goal was to take the photograph and make it look like it was drawn by a courtroom artist. And so I think I achieved that goal in a very short period of time, that was a big part of my goal to make this happen. And then, so in the explanation steps, it feels kind of funny when people come to you and they say, "Hey, that artwork's just great," and then I was trying to explain that it wasn't a computerized filter type of thing; that this was hand drawn. And so then that's the explanation that's been made, and that's all true. As I showed you, this was drawn by hand. I didn't push a button and have a filter just produce this. This was an artist doing this. But at the same time, I traced it. And so when you say hand drawn, sometimes it comes across like there wasn't any tracing involved. But that's hand drawn and tracing can go together. So I'm producing this video to kind of explain that whole process and to say that's a legitimate art tool. And I was telling my friends too, and I put the link to this YouTube video on my last video from last week. So check that out. Maybe I'll even put it on the bottom of this one. Drew Struzan, who is a movie artist, very, very famous. When Hollywood would come up with a new movie, they would go after him to do their poster because they knew that poster would put people in the seats in the theaters. And if Drew did your poster, your movie was going to be a lot better and a lot more successful than with someone else doing it. Back to the Future, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all those movies, those posters were done by Drew, and he traces. That's part of the process that he uses to make those posters. So tracing is not like this cheat. You're not an artist if you trace type of thing. I hope I showed some of that interpretation and the skill that someone can use while they're tracing. So check that video out. It's a couple minutes long, but he explains how it's a tool. It's a legitimate tool. So anyway, so that's our Sunday cartoons with Dan Lietha this week. It's more of a Sunday illustration with Dan Lietha this week. It wasn't really a cartoon, but again, I wanted to explain some things about tracing and that particular piece of artwork that I did. And the homeschool group, I hope you enjoyed the image that was the end result. And so that's the story behind it. And I hope that many people will share my channel. I really want to educate people, Christian families in particular, about images and artists and cartooning and processes, and make some lessons out of some things and get some information out there, hopefully inspire the next generation. And we can have some great up and coming Christian artists making important images to help people know about the Lord Jesus Christ and to trust the Bible and some of those things that I've tried to do in my career, working for Answers in Genesis for 23 years. And then now I work for a ministry called Reasons for Hope. And I do a cartoon for them called Truth Jabs. And I have a video feature online that I hope many people check out called Draw It and Know It, where I teach kids how to draw an animal. And then I talk about the design features in the animal too. And so I break it down so most anyone can do the drawing. You don't have to be an artist. But these are some of the goals that I have, and I want to grow my channel too. So again, please share, let your friends know about it. And if you have any ideas of things that you'd like me to do in the future, I'd be happy to hear about those. But so anyway, pray for me as I am in ministry doing artwork, and there's lots of things, and I'll be sharing some more about those on my YouTube channel in days to come. So God bless, and thanks for watching.